President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has arrived in Washington, D.C. to attend the historic trilateral meeting between the Philippines, the United States, and Japan. Joining us tonight to give an update is our reporter Gabriel Lalu, live from Washington, D.C. Gab?
Yes, Neil. President Bongbong Marcos arrived here in Washington, D.C. yesterday at exactly 7:53 p.m. Eastern Time. He and his team are expected to have a jam-packed schedule today, starting off with a bilateral meeting between the Philippines Foreign and Trade Secretaries and their U.S. counterparts today morning. By afternoon, Marcos will first have a bilateral meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden before the first ever trilateral summit between the Philippines, the United States, and Japan starts. Filipino and American officials said that the historical trilateral meeting is expected to center on how ties between the three countries could be strengthened, future economic partnerships, and shared security concerns, including China's aggressive actions over the South China Sea. New investment packages on different areas will also be announced. According to Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez, they expect investments worth $100 billion from the United States and Japan to flow into the Philippines within the next 5 to 10 years. After the bilateral and the trilateral meetings, Marcos will attend other events hosted by businesses in the U.S., including a dinner, which Romualdez said was set up by the U.S.-Philippine Society. Around 200 business leaders in the U.S. are expected to be present during the dinner. Neil?
Gab, I have a couple of questions for you. You mentioned doon sa report mo that among the issues to be tackled during the trilateral meeting between President Marcos, President Biden, and Prime Minister Kishida ay yung sitwasyon doon sa West Philippine Sea. Are we seeing a more concrete action, perhaps a stronger statement from these three countries with regard to defending our waters?
You know, it was asked yesterday during a press briefing with U.S. National Security Council Advisor for Communications, John Kirby. However, Kirby declined to give further details so as not to preempt the discussions between the three leaders, President Biden, President Marcos, and Prime Minister Kishida. But he was clear that the quadrilateral exercises being conducted by the Philippines, Japan, the US, and Australia would continue, saying that these exercises are being done in international waters where freedom of navigation is encouraged.
I think that's an important point you raised, Gab, no? That this trilateral summit will happen after that quadrilateral maritime activity between the US, the Philippines, Japan, and Australia, which brings me to this question, because I understand that the DFA has previously said that the trilateral summit is not directed to any country. But some people are worried that this trilateral summit may add fuel to the fire, if you may say, when it comes to the situation and the tension in the West Philippine Sea. What does the Philippine government have to say about that?
Well, on the side of the American government first, Advisor Kirby said that China has nothing to be to overreact to, because the exercises being done were, as I said earlier, were done in international waters where freedom of navigation is encouraged. On the Philippine side, Ambassador Romualdez said that it's China who has already taken actions regarding the issue. And he also reiterated that the Philippines doesn't want to engage in fights or quarrels with other countries, noting that what they want is to implement President Marcos' foreign policy, which is the Philippines being a friend to all and an enemy to none.
One final question, Gab. I think an important point that we must also discuss here is the political climate over there in the U.S. As you know, the presidential elections will happen in November. And should President Biden not be able to retain his seat as the president of the United States, are we worried that this might change their foreign policy and their relationship with the Philippines?
Well, Advisor Kirby declined to comment on that because he is a part of the National Security Council, and in his position, he cannot say anything political. But he assured the Philippines that whatever happens, that as long as President Biden is in office, the ties, the strong relations between the Philippines and the U.S. will continue. On the other hand, Ambassador Romualdez said that he does not expect any changes to happen, whatever the results may be. We must remember that Ambassador Romualdez has been assigned to the U.S. to the Philippine Embassy in the US since 2017, when President Biden's opponent, or presumptive opponent, former President Donald Trump, was still in office. So, what Ambassador Romualdez said was that the policies being implemented by the United States now, especially relating to the Indo-Pacific, have been formulated during the time of former President Trump. So, if the people on board with Trump years ago would come back if he wins the elections in November, Ambassador Romualdez doesn't think it would be a concern because these strong ties between the United States and the Philippines, well, you may say rejuvenated ties, will still continue.
Okay, Gab, we'll be waiting for further developments regarding that trilateral summit over there in Washington. Take care. That's John Gabriel Lalu live from Washington, D.C.